Howdy guys, Radio Magic here. I hope you are all having a fantastic morning, day, afternoon or evening, wherever you are and whatever you are up to. Today we are back on the channel testing how viable is Control in the historic meta, whether you're climbing to Mythic, you're going through Mythic, or maybe you're just trying to make your opponent's lives as miserable as possible. Either way, we have the Control list somewhere for you. Today we're giving the Izzet Magma Opus combo a go. So we tried Izzet recently on the channel and I think ultimately it felt a little bit flat. It's not really doing anything too powerful and it's sort of outclassed by Azorius and Jeskai, maybe in Esper and Grixis as well. It feels like ultimately it's probably the weakest of the Control lists. So we're going to give Combo Control a go. So ultimately it is a Control list in a sense. Like, we've got the Control bits going on, we're still trying to do the same sort of thing, but we're also trying to combo off with Indomitable Creativity. So this list it's Andrew Jessup's list, and you can find it on the Channel Fireball website, card for card, so I take no credit in the list at all, but we're going to give it a go. So if you're interested in checking that out, head over to Channel Fireball and you can get a good look at it there. And if you're also interested in just skipping the deck tech, I'm not going to do a full deck tech, but I am going to explain what the list is ultimately trying to do. Then go down into the description below and you will find timestamps for the game, so check them out. You'll also find a deck list down there, but head over to Channel Fireball if you want to find out the full sort of details of the list. But essentially, it's built around 4 copies of Indomitable Creativity. 3 red mana and X for a sorcery, and you get to destroy X target artifacts and or creature cards. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal an artifact or creature card, and then they exile that card, and then they get to put all of the exiled cards onto the battlefield and then shuffle their library. So essentially you just flip cards until you reveal a creature or an artifact. The only creature and artifact we have in the list is Torrential Gearhulk. Torrential Gearhulk is something that slipped off a little bit. It was really powerful in its standard era, but ever since Historics come around, Torrential Gearhulk's been rather weak. But 6 mana, 5/6 flash, and when it ETBs, you get to cast a free instant card from your graveyard. So the aim of the deck is basically to blow up an artifact, and we'll show how we're putting them artifacts into play, to flip a Torrential Gearhulk to then get a free cast of one of our 7 and 8 mana source instants out of our graveyard. But these instants are really unique. They came out of Strixhaven, and they essentially have the ability to spend 2 Izzet hybrid, or Prismari hybrid, whichever way you want to say that, whatever floats your boat, and you get to discard the card, either one of them, either Magma Opus or Creative Outburst, and then create a treasure token. So this treasure token is really good for multiple reasons. First of all, we get to put the card into our graveyard, so it can be cast off of Torrential Gearhulk, so good for that reason. And also, it's a target to destroy for our creativity at the same time. So good on multiple fronts. It's quite noticeable that Creative Outburst is a little bit weaker than Magma Opus. Magma Opus is the main thing we're trying to do, but we will settle for our Creative Outburst. So this list is pretty fun. It's pretty explosive. It can go off really quickly. I've tested this quite a bit and watched quite a few videos on it, and ultimately I think it's a really fun list at the same time. But one of the things is that I really like about this list that's different to some other Control lists, combo lists, is that your opponent can't necessarily shut down the list altogether. They can they can use like a Rest in Peace or Grafdigger's Cage to stop you using your Torrential Gearhulk, or maybe stop you bringing it out of the library. But ultimately, we're going to get to a point where we can just cast our Magma Opus and our Creative Outburst, just hard cast them at instant speed, which is most of the time powerful enough. So if your opponent's going to slow down their game plan by quite a bit, let's say 2 or 3 turns, then we should be able to get to a point where we can just take over with our Magma Opus and Creative Outburst and just start hard casting them. And once we get to 8-9 mana and our opponent isn't running Mystical Disputes, then yeah, we're in a pretty good situation. We're running quite a lot of interaction, I say quite a bit, we're running a medium amount of interaction with Magma Spray, Memory Lapse, Sweltering Suns and Prismari Command, just to sort of hold off them early aggro lists, cause a little bit of disruption. And Prismari's command as well is better in this list than in the Jeskai list that we ran, because while it can answer your opponent's creatures, it can also create a treasure token, which is another target for creativity. So if we get 2 of our powerful instants into the graveyard, we could create an extra token, treasure token, and then target creativity for 2, and then flip 2 Torrential Gearhulks maybe. At the same time, it allows us to draw and then discard them relevant cards. So loads of things that Command is trying to do. Yeah, pretty good list. Overall, it is what it is. The sideboard is... I haven't put the sideboard together, so there's no point in really talking about it too much, but we've got our normal stuff with Mystical Disputes, Aether Gusts. Chandra Awakened Inferno is actually a really important part of this list. Against opposing control mirrors, it's really difficult for this list to do well against. If they get like a Rest in Peace down or a Graph Digger's Cage, and then we have to resort to the hard casting of the Magma Opus, it can be really difficult to play through all their counter spells, either Dovin's Vetoes or Mystical Disputes. So Chandra Awakened Inferno is a way to push through them counter spells and get to a point where we can just resolve our threat, and then your opponent's got to answer that. They're running like Narsets or Braids for more interaction and like destroying artifacts, and then Negates and that. Pretty standard sideboard. But that is it Magma Opus? Like I said, this isn't my list. Head over to the Channel Fireball website if you want to check it out in full. But we're going to give it a go. We're going to do our normal thing and run 4 or 5 games back to back. See how we get on. All of our misplays will be put on show, so yeah, we can hound me in the comments for that. But I'm going to shut up and I'll catch you again at the end of the wrap up. Okay, so we are back in Historic Best of 3. This is probably a list that's going to be better in Best of 1, but nevertheless, we always play Best of 3. So here we are. 7-land hand, going to mulligan this. I'd like some of our combo pieces in our opening hand. And yeah, this looks like a really insane hand. We're setting up for a turn 4 Indomitable Creativity, so we'll keep this. Probably just going to plop Torrential Gearhulk on the bottom. Since Creativity can find Gearhulk, we don't really need to have one in hand. It works out a little bit worse if our opponent manages to take Creativity off of us, but I'm willing to risk it. Probably start setting these on red so we can cast our Creativity on time. We're normally trying to set up for a turn 4 Creativity, turn either 2 or 3 discarding our Magma Opus. Probably going to try and discard Magma Opus on turn 2. Yeah, I'm going to keep going on red here. And then we'll discard Magma Opus this turn and then go for the Shark Typhoon cycle on the next turn. And then hopefully we find a land so we can Creativity and destroy the token from the Magma Opus. And then, yeah, turn 4 combo. If our opponent's on Dimir, though, there's a good chance that this just will not resolve this Creativity. Which means it's probably going to be a tough matchup. So our opponent's not on Dimir, maybe Azorius. This land is gorgeous. Yeah, it looks like potentially Azorius. Opponent's going to know what's up straight away. Got to imagine that they have like a sensor up here or something. So we can either cycle Shark Typhoon here or we can Brainstorm. We'll have a look at what our opponent does. If they tap down for like a Narset or something, then I guess we'll just Brainstorm to try and guarantee we hit our land drop. I'm not sure. It might be Brainstorm either way. I feel like the Control Mirror is one of our harder matchups. Our opponent's just loaded to the brim of counter spells. So we're probably looking at an Absorb here. Probably not going to cast Creativity on our next turn into an Absorb. So we'll just Brainstorm now and then go and make a 2/2 Shark on our next turn. Okay, so probably put Gearhulk and Prismari Command back, I guess. And then we'll draw the Prismari Command this turn. Yeah, we'll draw. Yeah, we'll set this on red and then we can cast Creativity if we want. I'm not sure what we're going to do. We could create an extra token with Prismari Command if we want to. Maybe draw some extra cards. We're getting close to being able to hardcast our Torrential Gearhulk as well, and we do have one of our big flashy sorceries in the instants in the graveyard. I'm just going to cycle Shark Typhoon actually. Just try and add some pressure to our opponent. Kind of want to make him tap down at some point. I'm really liking the inclusion of this new land in Azorius. Okay, so opponent's tapping down, so we get 2 Creativity here. So we'll do X equals 1. And target here. We also get to, or we don't get to play around. I guess we could sack the token in response, but it wouldn't work. Our opponent's not running Mana Tithe, are they? That'd be ridiculous. If they are, then fair play, you got us. But yeah, this is going to be quite strong here. Our opponent's running Mana Tithe! What are you doing in blue-white? You're running it. Wow, okay. I mean, we'll decline to pay and let this go, because we wouldn't have a target anyway. Wow, I mean, opponent, you got us. Fair play. Yeah, personally, my personal preference would not to be running Manative in a blue-white list, since you're already playing around counter spells. Manative's got to be its best when you're catching your opponent off guard. But yeah, works out really well here. Well, looks like we might lose to this Manative, but opponent played it really well. So yeah, we're just gonna have to pass the turn here on Shark Typhoon. Opponent came prepared for what we were up to though, with Whirlwind Denial as well. Pretty good against Shark Typhoon.
Keep up the pace.
But yeah, looks like we're probably just gonna get outclassed by this Teferi here. Gonna cycle Shark Typhoon and make a 2/2. Try and hit our land drop, and then if our opponent ever taps down, then at least we have Shark Typhoon. Guess we'll wait for our opponent to untap their lands first. Not sure if it matters too much. Yeah, I think this is one of our harder games. Another Torrential. So land here would be great. Land it is. So play our land out, and then if our opponent ever taps down, we can cast Torrential Gearhulk, though we do have to be careful of Manative. I assume our opponent just, like, lets this go. Ooh, nice. So, yeah, we're going to go Torrential Gearhulk. I think because we can shoot Teferi for 4 here, tap the Shark. With the Magma Opus is deal 4 damage as you divided, with Teferi's going to take 4. Tap 2 permanents. Yeah, so our opponent could, like, board wipe, untap board wipe. But we're kind of in a good position. Hopefully we'll draw a blue source so we could cast another Torrential Gearhulk if we want. We're going to draw a few cards. And we get to finish off Teferi. So, yeah, so if any other, the damage will be divided. Yeah, submit 1. Tap permanents. I guess we'll tap. And tap. Doesn't matter. What are we doing here? Yeah, I think distribute damage, yeah. We want 4 damage to go to Teferi. And then finish it off with the Shark. And then our opponent probably just Wrath of Gods here. We did not draw a land, unfortunately. Thank you. Opponent's missing double white as well for Wrath of God. So we'll see. Our opponent might be in a bit of trouble if we get to untap here. Opponent's going for the double Brainstorm. Sort of locked themselves a little bit. So we got Manatived, which is so unfortunate. Like, fair play, like, got us off guard. But, yeah. See if our opponent can pull back here. Gonna Wrath, yeah, they found it. Sweet. So, unfortunately, we can cast Torrential Gearhulk, but we don't really have anything to get back at the moment. I mean, we could Brainstorm. Yeah, not really much else to do. So, probably just passing the turn here. Opponent's going for the Teferi. Yeah, I mean, gotta let this go, kinda. Probably just go for a Prismari command. So probably going to create a treasure token and draw 2. Is that right? Yeah, probably. The only concern is maybe we want to shock Teferi so we can definitely finish off the outburst. Guess we'll discard a Magma, but we probably want to put one of these outbursts in the graveyard just for Torrential Gearhulk purposes. But we'll hold on to one of the outbursts because we can just hardcast it. Yeah, no reason to Field of Ruin at the moment. Could fix our mana, but I don't really want to give our opponent the opportunity to have 4 mana untapped. So yeah, unfortunately, maybe Shocking was correct instead of making a token. We did top deck the Creativity, so maybe so, but our opponent's going to get to put Teferi up to 6 loyalty, so Outburst isn't going to be enough. Yeah, I think we're just passing here. Our opponent can't tap down. They must leave up a counter magic at all times. Okay, so we can play around Mana Tithe here. So do we just shoot Teferi? I think we put Torrential Gearhulk in play and force our opponent to board wipe again. Yeah. Playing around that Mana Tithe this time. Yeah, we'll cast Creativity and we'll target Teferi. So we've got some game against the control list. Guess we'll just take another Outburst.
How long do you want to wait for a rematch?
Opponent's going to get to draw some cards here. Unfortunate, they do need to find an answer to Torrential Gearhulk. Shouldn't be too hard. They have tons of Wrath of Gods. Like I said in the intro, the Creative Outburst is quite substantially weaker than the Magma Opus, but what can you do? Still okay.
Right on schedule.
Okay.
Time is much more malleable than people think.
So play land. Okay, so what can we do here? So I don't know what our opponent's got. They could have Dovin's Veto. I'm thinking we discard a Creative Outburst. I guess we only have... I guess we have nothing. We have to discard a Creative Outburst if we want a Torrential Gearhulk. So we could discard an Outburst. Indomitable Creativity for 2. We can't play around Dovin's Veto either way, but we get to play around Mana Tithe. And then we get 2 Gearhulks back. We get Prismari Command to just dig us, discard this Magma Opus, shoot Teferi, and then we get to 5 our opponent and look a bit deeper as well. So probably gonna go ahead and do that. Gonna just mute our opponent, being a little bit obnoxious. Yeah, so let's go and discard. And then we'll go for 2. Don't know why it's leaving up just 1, 2, 3. Let's tap both like that. I'd like to leave up 1 coloured mana if at all possible. So yeah, Dovin's Veto sort of does us in here, but it's difficult to know if our opponent's playing Veto in the main. Okay, they're playing Negate. Again, in Azorius playing Negate. Okay. Fair enough. Like I'm not sure why you're not running Dovin's Veto. Maybe scared of not hitting not hitting blue and white mana. But yeah, either way, we're a little bit soft to a counterspell there.
We need to move quickly.
So our opponent's up 2. Okay, they're gonna semi-tap down for Amiri's Call. Get to hold up Absorb here. So, Torrential Gearhulk. So our opponent knows about the Gearhulk on top. We have a Gearhulk there. I guess we're doing this in our opponent's upkeep. Guess we could like Field of Ruin the Hallowed Fountain. I guess they just go get Plains, don't they? Yeah, let's pause on our opponent's upkeep. I guess this is our best bet. We don't really want to let Teferi keep getting more value. If opponent's got an absorb, they've got an absorb though. Like, it is what it is at this point. Like, we're not running many counter spells in the main outside of Memory Lapse, and we haven't found one of them. So difficult to play around counter spells. Sort of just got to play into them. My mana's tapping really awkwardly. I mean, we're not going to discard Outburst, but still. Yeah, opponent's got Absorb. Yeah, if opponent just like ticks up to Fairy here, laser lands and does nothing, hits us for 8, then probably going to have to give it one more attempt to cast our Torrential Gear Hulk, but it's probably over. Opponents found 3 Teferis really early. They got us with a Mana Tithe. They had the negate when they needed the negate. Yeah, so just pass the turn. We'll try and Torrential. Probably going to scoop it up if this Torrential gets countered. Guess our opponent can't have Absorb here. Opponent tapped their mana maybe a little bit wrong. Opponent's got the Memory Lapse, and we're going to scoop it up. Yeah, Azorius is going to be a hard game for us, playing what we're playing. Dead cards like Magma Spray and that. I'll take out the Magma Sprays straight away. Obviously, Negates are coming in, Mystical Disputes, Narsets, and Chandras. What are we taking out? Sweltering Suns. Probably like Prismari Command. Like, it's okay, but maybe maybe we're just cutting creativity. Like, trim on creativities and trim on commands. Because creativity is still a good card if it gets to resolve, but it's just unlikely that it's going to get to resolve in this matchup. Could be an argument just to cut all of the creativities. Probably give ourselves the opportunity to flip Torrentials if we need to, but this is probably going to be a hold out for as long as possible, just with our counter spells, and then slam a Chandra or Torrential Gear Hulk if our opponent taps down. Can even ramp to the Chandras, so probably just going to be on that game plan. Yeah, thinking about it, it could be just cut the creativities. Yeah, I'm thinking just cut the creativities and keep in the Prismari commands. It gives us the ability to ramp a bit faster, and we can answer Narsets at the same time. Yeah, just we're not going to resolve this sorcery against our opponent. So yeah, run it like that. Okay, so game 2 against Azorius Control. We're down a game at the moment on the play now. And like we said in the first game, this is probably going to be a game where we struggle a bit in, but nevertheless, we'll give it our best shot. And this is probably a good hand to keep. So going to dig and find these Chandras, probably one of our better cards in this matchup. And I don't mind shocking. Opponent is running Amiria's Call, but not too worried. Our opponent's actually running both of the DFCs, including the blue one as well, which I haven't seen played in Azorius in a while. I think the downside of having to pay free life in faster matchups is not too good. Okay, so 2 cards back on top, though we're probably going to draw all of these cards anyway, so it doesn't matter. Let's put Creative Outburst and Field of Ruin. Do you want to get rid of our Field of Ruin? Yeah, I kind of want all of the cards in our hand. Maybe we don't want Creative Outburst, but might even just get rid of this Field of Ruin. We don't really need to draw it. So I'd probably rather be using the Temple to scry a card we don't know, either to the top or bottom. But it'll make do at the moment. Definitely got to hold up this Mystical Dispute for a potential Search for Azcanta next turn. Opponent's potentially telling us at the moment that they've got Mystical Dispute available. We know they're running Mana Tithe as well. Okay, so opponent's just going for it. No fear at all. We've probably got to stop this. feel like we're gonna... Yeah, I thought I muted the opponent in the last game. It's probably better to keep up Mystical Dispute, and then next turn we can Prismari Command plus Mystical Dispute. So we'll just go for Negate now. The only fear of doing this, obviously, is that Mystical Dispute will fall off in the meantime. So we can't punish our opponent by resolving a Narset of their own, which is unfortunate. So yeah, we'll just command, we'll draw 2 and make a treasure. Guess we'll thin our deck a little bit, discard 2 lands. I mean, could discard a Creative Outburst. And then at least we have a Torrential Gear Hulk target. Probably just discard the lands. Yeah, we'll go for the Scry, and then next turn we can we'll keep Narset, and then next turn we can potentially cast Outburst if our opponent taps down at some point. For example, if our opponent just like cast a fairy here, then get to Mystical Dispute it. Then I guess we probably untap, play Narset. I think it'd be foolish for our opponent to just throw a Teferi into 5 open. Oof, okay. I mean, there's no universe in which we don't do this here. And then, yeah, what, we're just casting Narset next turn, I guess? Narset's a pretty good counter to whatever our opponent's going to have coming up. Get to take a memory lapse here as well, just to try and slow our opponent down. It means they're going to have to play through a counterspell here. And then if we draw a land, I guess we get to just cast a Magma Opus next turn, which is just strong as it is. Opponent's just going to let it go. Gonna go for the extra down tick. We're losing Narset to a Shark Typhoon either way at this point, so kind of happy to just tick down here. Kind of want to take a Shark Typhoon of our own. So our opponent's up to. Could be Shark Typhooning here. It's going to make a 1-1. I guess we lose our Narset to the 1-1. Guess we could cycle Shark Typhoon for 2 if we wanted to. Do you want to cycle Shark Typhoon for 2? Yeah, I actually do want to cycle Shark Typhoon for 2. We still get to hold up Memory Lapse and Prismari Command. So our opponent can't just resolve it to very easy. They'll still need to go for a counter spell. This way we get to keep our Narset. It's just a bit more of a headache. And by doing it now instead of in our opponent's turn, it means they don't get to hold up Whirlwind Denial. Put a pause in our opponent's upkeep in case for whatever reason we might want a Prismari Command to make our opponent discard 2. These lands are stunning. Okay, so opponent's maybe just passing here. I think we're going to discard a Creative Outburst here. Kind of going down on Memory Lapse, but I don't know if we'll be stopping a cast out. Chandra's a good one. We even get to hold up Memory Lapse. We'll lose our Narset, but I mean, I think that's fine, isn't it? At that point, do we just want to attack our opponent here? Because we're losing Narset either way. They'll obviously just throw one of their tokens away to take Narset down. So I think we're probably going to attack here. Just the less life we put our opponent on, the faster Chandra is going to close the game. And this Chandra is definitely, when I've played against Azorius, Chandra is one of them threats that you just really struggle to answer. Obviously, you can't counter it. Outside of commit memory, you're going to have a real tough time. Opponent could very much have commit memory here, will memory lapse, and then they could counter back again. So it is a possibility, but commit memory is not something you normally run in Azorius, I don't think.
Let's start at a sizzle and see if you make it to the inferno.
Opponent could Whirlwind Denial the trigger, not going to. Yeah, it's like the entire reason that Chandra's in the sideboard for these sort of exchanges when your opponent's just holding up probably infinite counter spells. Normally Fort Distortion is what gets us, but this time we get to get our opponent. Okay, so they're just going to tap down and just draw an insane amount of cards here. Well, actually, sorry, they're not going to draw any cards. They're just going to waste their turn because of Narset. I keep forgetting, I even forget Narset so much of the time, but opponent's got to be careful with that. But yeah, we're going to just run it back. It seemed good, just trying to find our Chandra. Opponent obviously made a mistake. They're running Narsets themselves, so I still make this mistake from time to time, but I try and keep my head in the game. Okay, so game 3 against Azorius Control, and I think we can keep this hand. It's a little bit risky, but we are on the draw. Our opponent's mulliganed once, and we can discard this Magma Opus for our third land drop, so we'll keep this. Like I said, it is really risky, but we've got quite a bit of defense with our Memory Lapses and Mystical Disputes. Opponent could have either Mystical Dispute or Brainstorm here, but we need to get our blue up and going. Yeah, going for the Brainstorm. Discussed it quite a bit on the channel, and quite a few other YouTubers have, but Brainstorm just doesn't feel particularly powerful unless you've got a reliable way to fetch. Ultimately, I think, in my personal opinion, I'm falling off of Brainstorm a little bit. I don't think it's as powerful as it might have been, or as it is in older formats. I think Fable Passage probably just isn't enough. Let's go get our blue source. Just really hoping for lands here. Lands would be great. Sulphur Falls, it is. So yeah, if our opponent does nothing on turn 3, we'll just discard Magma Opus. Yeah, so we'll discard here. Could go for the Narset here, and then we have the Mystical Dispute, but I really don't think it's necessary. Opponent could have 2 counter spells of their own. I don't feel like forcing through a Narset. We'll just wait for an opportunity where Narset could be a good opportunity to resolve one. Since we've taken out the creativities as well, we probably don't need we don't need as much red. So it's probably better to lay these pathways on blue a lot of the time. You can see from our hands, probably a bit more taxing. His opponent did in our end step. Make a 2/2, so Narset's not really going to be safe anymore. Gonna discard Magma Opus here as well, just get a bit more mana. Then if we top deck a Chandra, at least we can just resolve that. Then we're setting up for Torrential Gearhulks as well. Okay, so negate. Opponent is in a position where they can just activate their castles now. Gonna have to do something eventually. We are the player missing land drops as well, so our opponent kind of doesn't have to do anything here. They can just keep passing the turn if they want to and activating their castles. I think play Narset and then, because our opponent just activates castle. Yeah, we're going to play Narset. I think we'll maybe use 1 counter spell over this. Then we'll have to save the other one probably for our opponent's turn. Depends if our opponent taps down here. Yeah, we'll let this go. I think we kind of have to let this go here. Need to hold up something for our opponent's turn. There's every opportunity that our opponent has, like, Teferi and Dovin's veto here with, like, a land. But we're missing land drops. We haven't really got things we can do. We need to do something proactive here. I don't know if I want to give up both our treasures just to be able to cast the negate. If we top deck... Yeah, I'm going to. If we top deck Chandra, it like, feels really bad, but otherwise it feels okay. Opponent could have like so many different counter spells here. Including a Mana Tithe. But we can't play around that. We can't cast our Mystical Dispute as our opponent can just pay for it. Okay, so Searcher's Canter. They're going to slam that down. Yep. Searcher's Canter will be flipping next turn as well. So opponent's got one card in hand. But they've got a Searcher's Canter. And yeah, we're kind of left in that position that Control sometimes can be left in, where your opponent's got board presence or stuff happening on the board, and you just are stuck with counter spells in hand. Opponent whiff. They said oops, so maybe they maybe instead they didn't click on one. Yeah, unfortunately we can't compete with a 5/5 at the moment. We can only make a 4/4 in our opponent's end step. I think it's make a 3/3 now as well and hold up a Mystical Dispute. Because otherwise it's 2-turn clock. If we stop this 2/2 now, then it's a 3-turn clock instead. Very clearly signposting here that we have a Mystical Dispute. Yep. Yeah, it's probably game over. We'll see what we draw, but I can't imagine that our opponent can lose from this position. They even get to activate Azcanter here if they want to first. Probably just wait, but... yeah, GG. Okay, so on the play with Indomitable Creativity, Torrential Gearhulk, Izzet Control combo, and we're missing some of our big flashy instants to cast with Torrential Gearhulk. So this might have to be a mulligan. We do have Magma Spray to keep us alive, Shark Typhoon to cycle. But yeah, we're like one card off of having something. We have 8 of them in the list, so it's a tough choice as to whether we mulligan or keep. I'm going to keep just because I don't want a mulligan and Shark Typhoon can cycle. But yeah, this is definitely... it's pretty Four.Vs proof though, this hand, which is something I do like. Missing land drops, missing one of our big source big instants, but outside of that, we're okay. Brainstorm's good as well. Hopefully we reveal some lands here. Could be against Azorius. Oh, maybe Jeskai. Yeah, going to elect a Brainstorm before we Shark Typhoon. Or at least we revealed something. Going to put 2 Magma Sprays back, I guess. And be very upset that we're going to be drawing them again. Since we know we're not drawing a land, I think we can't discard Opus here. Well, I mean, we could discard Opus, it'd be fine, but I think we'll just cycle Shark Typhoon for 1, try and get this Magma Spray off the top of our library gone, and then maybe we can hit a land drop and then go for the combo on the next turn. Okay, so opponent's on like Jeskai Control, it looks like maybe. They could be on like a similar variant to what we're on, like combo Magma Opus style. Okay, so we did find a land. Smack our opponent for 1. Okay, nice. So opponent's got their own Shark Typhoon, so we'll be able to Magma Spray that. So Magma Spray's coming up a little bit, but we're not really too worried. Our opponent's probably going to Wrath away their own token in time anyway. We'll see. Ideal plan, I guess, here is our opponent just completely taps down. We get to discard Opus and then Creativity. But highly unlikely that is going to happen. Yeah, we'll just Magma Spray the Shark. We can also Creativity if we draw land for 2, if we wanted to. We can blow up our own Shark. I'm just going to Brainstorm now. Taking them a while to decide. I guess they'll pop back on top and then fetch their Fable Passage. Really wish we have had a Fable Passage earlier on so we could have shuffled them Magma Sprays away. We'd have had 2 new cards by now. Okay, opponent's going for the Lightning Helix. So, yeah, I mean, we've got an opportunity to resolve Creativity here, and I think we're going to go for it. Like, I see no reason not to. Opponent could have like Spell Pierce or something, but if you're running like a control list, you've just got better options. So, yeah, we'll go for it. Opponent could just be like saying, "Go ahead, do your Creativity, and I shall just wipe the board next turn." But kind of happy with just our 2/2. Our 2 cards even. What am I talking about? Yeah, so we'll shoot our opponent for 4. Yeah, that's fine. Tap, tap. Draw 2. Got a little bit of protection with Memory Lapse. Would have loved to have drawn land there. So potentially could have gone Torrential Gearhulk in a few turns, but okay, so opponent's not wiping the board, so they are going to just lose this Narset. Did find the board wipe, but we've got the Memory Lapse for protection, so there's every possibility here that we get to do the combo again. So yeah, we will smack our opponent for 5, and then Lightning Helix isn't going to work here, but we'll hit Narset and then smack our opponent for 5. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have a way to answer the 4/4, so we don't get to answer the Narset. But yeah, I think we're in a relatively good position here. We haven't got any flashy sorceries instants in the graveyard, so I guess we could discard Creative Outburst. They cast Wrath of God, we Memory Lapse. They counter, then we get to, they tap down, we get to Prismari command to create a treasure token, draw, discard, and then discard our Creative Outburst. And then we get to Indomitable Creativity next turn for 1. Cast Outburst, shoot our opponent for 5. I think we want to draw and discard now. Do you want to? Kind of don't want to draw a Memory Lapse again. Wait, if we... No, it's not going to be lethal still, so we will draw and discard. We'll draw. And we'll create a treasure. Just wondering how far we want to dig down. So we'll discard, I guess. Very close to being able to do creativity for 2. So we can just Torrential Gearhulk as well soon, but we'll just do this X equals 1 and destroy our token, and we also get to hold up Memory Lapse. So opponent knows about that. So opponent had to dig pretty deep for that first Wrath, so maybe they can't find the second one. Not sure. But yeah, let's just cast Creativity. Or Creative Outburst. And yeah, we'll grab a Magma Opus. And then if our opponent does the same thing again next turn, I guess we can just like discard the Magma Opus and then flash Torrential Gearhulk him. Targeting Magma Opus, and yeah, the 4 damage will just be enough to finish our opponent. They've got to answer Torrential Gearhulk here, or I guess Lightning Helix to gain a little bit of life. Yeah, I guess Birth does it as well. Don't really want to counter the Birth. So yeah, let's discard Opus. Just so Torrential Gearhulk has a pretty good target. And then if our opponent taps down now, it's over. So they got a Lightning Helix here. Or answer Torrential Gearhulk. Yeah, so we get to Torrential Gearhulk into Magma Opus here. Our opponent could have Dovin's Veto to stop our Magma Opus, I guess. I guess we can just let this go and just Magma Spray before our opponent draws. Yeah. And then if our opponent has to tap down to Lightning Helix or Dovin's Veto or something, then we get to flash and Torrential Gearhulk. Okay, so pretty much just standard Jeskai control it looked like. So we'll do our normal control-y bits to cut for the sideboard. And when we play against Azorius control, we cut Indomitable Creativity. Could be just the same thing to do here because it's just so unlikely we're going to resolve that spell. We're going to lean harder on Chandra to win this. And we'll just discard these and cast with Torrential Gearhulk and try and ramp with Prismari Command and the discarding of these. Yeah, it could be right to like keep in some number of creativities. But yeah, we're just gonna run it like that. Okay, so game 2 against Jeskai Control, and we're kind of okay with this hand. We've got both our colours of mana. We don't need to worry about having our triple red anymore, so Pathway can easily come down in blue. And then I guess we can Brainstorm, and having the ramp with Magma Opus and some sort of card advantage with Shark Typhoon's probably good enough to keep. Could hold on to the Brainstorm until... probably are going to cast it. We could hold on to it, though, until we're ready to Field of Ruin, just so we can shuffle away the cards. I think we probably just want to draw lands here. Hoping to draw lands, but I think most cards in our deck are live at this point. Nice, so opponent gets to set us back a turn. We have to draw the Memory Lapse again. Or the Brainstorm again. Oh, almost didn't lay a land. It looked like it skipped our draw step there. Yeah, we shall negate. So I guess our opponent was assuming that maybe if they countered Brainstorm, it would either make us stumble. So yeah, we can't Brainstorm and shuffle our library this time. We can get rid of one card. Guess like 2 lands, though we probably want to draw both. Well, no, we'll draw 1 land. 1 land's good enough, and we'll draw the island. And then this turn, I guess we can just Brainstorm plus shuffle. Or can cycle Shark Typhoon if that's where we want to go. I kind of favouring shuffling because I don't really want to draw a mountain at this point. Like, lands are still good, but I'll take the natural draws from them. Okay, opponent's going to cycle Shark Typhoon for 2. Also, waiting on a turn our Shark Typhoon, we get to make it slightly bigger than our opponents. So yeah, let's field a ruin first, I guess, because we're going to brainstorm again. I don't really want to draw that mountain. So I kind of want to brainstorm first, I guess, but like I said, I don't want to draw the mountain. Opponent's not greedy enough. They are running some basics. Yeah, and I guess we'll use no, we'll play an untapped land this turn so we can play our Shark Typhoon for a little bit bigger. The other option is to play Temple to scry that mountain away. We'll make our 3/3 in the end step. Don't want our opponent like playing a Teferi or something. Main phase 2. So, do we want to just play Temple this turn? And then next turn we could potentially cast Creative Outburst. Yeah, I probably don't want to brainstorm. I'd probably rather find more counter spells and things like that at this point. If we had a way to shuffle, then maybe. Are we attacking our opponent? I think I'm kind of happy to race. Our opponent has things like... they might be running Electrolyze, Prismari Command, and more Shark Typhoons. I'm going to make a 4/4 Shark here. Yeah, opponent's tapping down. Yes, not very scared. Maybe we should have laid land after combat. Maybe our opponent made their decision based on us playing the land. So maybe that a mistake on our part. I'd love to make a 4/4 here, but we're probably going to have to make one in the end step and then sit back and block now. We'll make a 3/3, I guess. Kinda gotta let this go. Can't keep getting hit by these sharks. I guess we could like attempt to attack Narset down. Okay, opponent's got a negate. I don't know if we want to attack Narset here because we'll fall to 4. Very close to death. Yeah, let's attack Narset. Attack Narset? Yeah, I don't really want to... Because if we get an opportunity to cast Torrential Gearhulk into Magma Opus, then I really do want to take that. Okay, so we have an opportunity here. But we're not going to get to draw our cards off of Magma Opus. We'll get to finish off their 4/4 Shark. I guess tap this Shark down. Our Shark will kill Narset. But we won't get to draw 2 cards. Is it worth it? Otherwise, we're just going to chump here and then we're just passing to... Yeah, I think we're going to go for it. So we can discard, yeah. And then I guess we let this get created first and then Torrential Gearhulk. And then go Magma Opus. Yep, so we will blow up this shark. We only want to do it on that target. And then tap this permanent, I guess, like tap a land, doesn't really matter. Don't get to draw, unfortunately. But we do get to finish up their Narset. And we leave quite a bit of power in play. Opponent's going to have to probably Wrath of God, but don't know if they kept in the Wraths. And then we have 5 points of burn with Creative Outburst. Unfortunately, we're not in a position where next turn we get to Outburst plus Memory Lapse. Opponent might be on the defensive now. We'll see. Nope, gonna get aggressive. Okay, so Rip Apart. This is not something as well I see often come up. Maybe this is a sideboard card. Probably get the same value of like... Okay, so you probably get the same value of Prismari Command, but not sure. Okay, so 7 points here. So yeah, 7 points. Leave our opponent on 9. So Outburst is not enough. Don't have anything in the graveyard really. Opponent has a negate up. Can play around negate with Torrential Gearhulk. I think we've got to attack our opponent. This is 3 damage to creature or planeswalker, so I can't go phase. I think we'll attack our opponent here with both. And potentially just pass the turn. And then maybe we have lethal on the way back, depending on the way our opponent plays it. Opponent could just make a 2/2 shark here. Okay, so going to deal us 2. They will get to draw, so we're going to fall to 5, and then we're gonna fall within Prismari range. So I guess we take this, our opponent hits us, and then they try and Prismari command us again, or burn us in some way. We get to cast Memory Lapse to that. They get to cast Negate to our Memory Lapse. Then we get to flash in Torrential Gearhulk, using a Negate from our graveyard to take down their Negate. And then hopefully that's the end of that, and then we get to swing back for lethal. We'll see how that plays out, but that's one of our best shots because we can't Creative Outburst and Memory Lapse, so we can't discard, cast Torrential and Memory Lapse. Okay, so we will stick with the plan. Go with the Memory Lapse, try and bait out the Negate. Then I guess we're Torrential Gearhulking now. Into Negate in the graveyard. Target opponents. I guess we target opponents to Fairy. Don't really want that going on top. Though I guess Teferi really doesn't do that much at the moment. I'm fine with our opponent just drawing Teferi. I think Teferi might be a little bit slow. They really need to find a board wipe here, because our opponent can't attack now. And if our opponent does not block correctly here, then they're going to die to an outburst. Yeah, so opponent's leaving themselves dead to the outburst. Opponent's staring death in the face, and death shall come for thy. Sweet. Get another outburst, but opponent's on -3, and we managed to take down a control list. We didn't have much luck with Azorius, but got there with Jeskai. Okay, so we are on the draw this time against Yorion, Sky, Nomad. This hand looks okay. We get to discard our outburst early. Got a Shark Typhoon to cycle, Torrential Gearhulk. Just looking for a creativity, really, to be able to combo, but we'll keep this. Hands obviously get a little bit better than this, but they could be a lot worse at the same time, so it's kind of how I'm thinking about this. Probably discard creativity on 2, or creative outburst, you call it creativity. Our opponent will definitely know what's up. Like our opponent's on mono green. We're going to discard Opus now. Opponent's doing a little bit of ramp, but yeah, we'll discard Opus and then set ourselves up for a combo. Oh, opponent's missing land drops. But they most certainly are going to know what's up when we discard the Opus. And then we'll cycle Shark Typhoon here. Oh, okay, opponent's just like, maybe can't beat that. Okay, so sideboarding against Yorion, mono green. I'm going to assume our opponent's not on mono green unless they're planning on sacrificing this to get all their gods out. And the main list I know is the ultimatum list, so it's a good chance our opponent's on Sultai. So presuming our opponent is on that, I'm going to board presuming that and bring in all of these bits. Sweltering Suns is good against our opponent if they've got like Nissa lands and that, but we're probably lost at the point in which that starts happening. Maybe opponent could have counter spells. We'll like trim some of our little bits in the middle, but I still think we're going to aim to combo off and then we'll see what happens. So running like this, we could want to bring in the Narsets maybe. If our opponent's really counterspell heavy, then Chandra as well, but I like it like this. Okay, so our opponent has decided to scoop it up all together. They mulligan down a little bit, so I can only presume that they just were not interested in fighting against Magma Opus. So on to the next game. Okay, so we are on the play with some more Izzet Control combo, however you sort of want to frame it. But yeah, Izzet, and I think we're going to mulligan this hand. 2 memory lapses aren't what I would define as a pretty playable hand. Going to keep this though. Probably put Field of Ruin on the bottom. We shall find more lands as we go. This hand's a little bit slow, but I don't really want to mulligan to 5. See what opponent's on. Maybe going to see a Four.Vs or Inquisition here. Yep, so this hand's pretty Four.Vs proof. Also doesn't give our opponent a good indication as to what we're up to with this sort of hand. One of my main concerns with this hand is with Prismari Command. We haven't got many things that we want to discard. It's not like we've got an abundance of cards in hand. Maybe see a Fable Passage here, so our opponent can shuffle them cards away. No, yet another stunning land. Opponent's gone full out on the designs. Yep, opponent's going to Cling to Dust. Cling to Dust a little bit annoying in this matchup. It can be quite difficult to cast Magma Opuses from the graveyard if your opponent has 1 mana Cling up. So I guess the plan is our opponent taps down and we get to cast Prismari Command, hoping that we hit an Indomitable Creativity off the top. Well, I guess we'd need to hit Magma Opus or something as well. So we'll create a token and draw. Opponent has something, maybe another Cling. Okay, there's our creativity. Discard. I guess we'll discard this land and maybe Memory Lapse, and then Prismari can help dig us a little bit deeper, maybe. But we don't have many cards that we want to discard. But we kind of need to find bits, because at the moment creativity is just, yeah, we're going to discard like that. At the moment creativity is just finding us a Torrential Gearhulk and it gets back a Prismari Command. Okay, there's another combo piece. I mean, Memory Lapse could be okay, but... yeah, Memory Lapse is actually okay. I guess we're Torrential Gear hulking into trying to find... into a Creative Outburst. If our opponent taps down here. Yeah, maybe we should have bottom Memory Lapse, and then with Prismari Command we could have maybe found a Magma Opus instead of Creative Outburst. But if it stands and our opponent just does nothing, we'll probably just discard this end of turn. It looks like our opponent's pretty solidly on Dimir. Which I've actually seen a lot of Dimir running around recently. It seems to be like quite a popular list. Which is odd, because normally you see Azorius being the control list of choice. Okay, so opponent probably positioned in such a way that they want to ditch. Okay, no. They ditch with the Search as counter. Okay, so opponent's holding up a counter spell here, so... feel like we're just going to Prismari Command, draw 2, make a treasure. Yeah. And then we'll discard this Outburst. And I guess land. Our opponent's definitely going to know what's up now. So we can creativity for 1 here, providing our opponent, and we still get to hold up a Memory Lapse. So I think we're going to do that. Get to play through 1 of our opponent's counter spells. It's not the best creativity. It would have been nice to have gone for 2. Okay, opponent's just going to allow that. And then, yeah, we'll cast an Outburst out of our graveyard. Just shoot our opponent for 5. Not going to be too difficult for our opponent to answer Torrential Gear Hulk. It's going for the Vraska's Contempt. So can Memory Lapse this and just slow our opponent right down here. We lose our token though. Yeah, I kind of like just slowing our opponent. They're going to have to spend the whole next turn doing this. Hopefully we can find something off the Outburst that we can do next turn. Okay, another Outburst, but we can't really do anything with this, but at least it's something that we can put into our graveyard for another Torrential Gear Hulk. So I assume our opponent just shoots our Torrential Gear Hulk. Maybe they take it actually, yeah, makes sense, but we're running quite a bit of burn. So Indomitable Creativity would be good. Unfortunately, I think there's going to be a little bit slow Memory Lapse because our opponent's going to be shooting Torrential Gear Hulk in the end step here. Going back up to 8. So I guess Untapped Land is okay because we get to cast Outburst. Okay, opponent gets to transform Search as counter by binning a Narset. God, another Narset.
Mind and body should move and meditate and prepare.
That's a shame. That's a massive shame. We're 1 mana off being able to discard Outburst first. Yeah. Like Torrential here. Maybe. I think we've got a Torrential here while our opponent's tapped down. And then Prismari We'll shoot our opponent and I guess make a treasure since we can't draw anymore. Shoot the Narset and then we'll make a treasure. And then at least we can cast our Outburst on our next turn. And our opponent doesn't get an extra Narset activation. Found another one. Okay, full price. Okay, double Outburst. I don't think our opponent activates Searcher's Canter there, yeah. We'll just Outburst in the end step, I guess. Opponent probably like memory lapses here. Then they know we can't cast the Outburst again. Yeah, we're going to scoop it up there because we can't cast the other Outburst in hand. Unfortunate. We played against Azorius earlier and we definitely struggle against these control lists, but we've got our normal game plan. We've actually seen a lot of control today now I'm reflecting. So cut all the normal stuff. Again, I don't think we're going to resolve creativity, but that being said, we're not running against Dovin's Veto this time, so there's maybe a better chance we will be able to cast it. Like trim an Outburst. Trim like some creativities and maybe like a Prismari command as well. Then we have the opportunity to steal creativity. And Outburst is by far worse than Opus, I think. So let's run it like that and see how we get on. Okay, so we are on the play against Dimir Control with Brainstorm and Mystical Dispute. So against Four.Vs, this hand's going to be pretty poor, but we do have some defenses. I think I'm still going to mulligan it away. This hand's quite a bit better. What are we putting on the bottom? Like Torrential Gear Hulk. We'll definitely find more Torrential Gear Hulks. Yeah, and I like discarding Opus here. So our opponent does, but yeah. We're definitely both going to be loaded up with counterspells this game, so we're hoping to find Chandra to sort of just break through. And then I think we'll just discard Outburst, maybe. Okay, so Fable Passage. Opponent may be a little bit struggling on mana. Yeah, I may as well hold on to Outburst. I think there's no reason to discard it now. I guess if we top deck Indomitable Creativity, it's a little bit better, but is it even likely that we'll cast the Creativity? Okay, so opponent played Fable Passage for the Brainstorm. Yeah, creativity is definitely going to get countered. So I'd probably just hold the creative outburst just to cast at this point, or to discard to let's go red. Or to discard to Prismari command. Yeah, just gonna I think loot with command. Loot and make a treasure. See if our opponents are about to cast Narset. Yeah, I think we can let Searcher's Canter go. Got to hold our counter spells for more pressing issues. So draw, create treasure. Getting close to just casting Outburst, so maybe it's better just to hold on to it, but still sticking with the plan of being able to cast them from our graveyard. Because the likelihood of us resolving a 7 mana card against our opponent is very, very slim. Could maybe start holding lands in hand as well, just for more Prismari commands. We need to find something relevant though. These lands are so gorgeous. Yeah, I'm gonna maybe start holding lands now just to discard. opponent, we didn't count the Searchlight Cancer because like it wasn't really a big issue then, but since then we haven't really found anything. I'd rather not tell our opponent that we don't have much going on. Just let our opponent redraw that, or they can put it into the graveyard if they want to. We've got like a Shark Typhoon or something. That's going to feel rough. Shark Typhoon for 0. Guess they want multiple counter spells up in case we go to do something. Yeah, again, I'd rather not tell our opponent that we don't have anything. Though, I think at this point it's unlikely that we're going to be able to recover. Opponent pays here, and then just... It doesn't pay. Oh, they want multiple things up, I guess. But our last 2 cards are blanks, so yeah. Not looking good now. Opponent also gets to transform Searchlight Cancer. Yeah, we'll see what we draw, but I'm not really interested in playing this out. Normally I would play out as many games as possible and right to the end, but I'd rather potentially get our 5th game in instead. Since this is pretty much a conclusion at this point. Our opponent gets to just resolve what they want here. Yeah, Nasa. They still get to hold up a counterspell for whatever we draw. Looks like Chandra's like our out. Yeah, just go for one more draw. Shark Typhoon is bad. I mean, even if we get a Chandra, it's still not looking good. Yeah, Memory Lapse. Four.Vs. So just negate. Yeah, we'll scoop it up. Just, I think far too many lands we drew there. Okay, so we are on the play for Game 5 against Lurrus of the Dream Den, and we have the combo, so we're going to keep... Just need to find lands, really, and hope that our opponent doesn't have too much disruption in the way of, like, Four.Vs. Yeah, land's great. Okay, so maybe looking against rogues here, so they will have some number of interaction, some level of interaction against us. Hopefully they don't put enough cards in our graveyard that they can counter Indomitable Creativity. Yeah? Ether Spellbomb? This is not something you very often see rogues playing. Opponent's going to know what's up straight away. So, gonna try and use Prismari Command here to cycle and make a treasure. Just to make Terramorphic Expanse? What is our opponent on? Let's draw and create a treasure. Could maybe take out their Spell Bomb, but don't really need to. I guess discard Outburst and discard Command. Since we're getting relatively close to being able to cast Torrential Gearhulk. Okay, Snow-Covered Island. Does our opponent have a negate? Shall we just find out? I guess we don't have to. If our opponent taps down, we can just hard cast Torrential Gearhulk. Yeah. I think I'm just going to leave it, actually. Just discard... We'll just cast a Torrential Gearhulk. Happy to sack our treasures for that. If not, we'll cycle, make a 2/2, I guess. Okay, so opponent's on Esper. Maybe our opponent has a counterspell up now, and we should have just gone for it last turn. Never know. But we're in a position now where if our opponent just taps down, then we should be able to take over. Looks like our opponent's missing white, though. They're running snow-covered islands. This might just be a preference, because 3-colour lists don't normally have the luxury. Okay. You go with the Torrential Gearhulk. Then they get to take creativity. Opponent can probably counter this. Opponent cannot counter this. So thou shalt cast the Magma Opus, dealing 4 to our opponent. Tapping, I guess, tapping 2 of our opponent's lands. Draw 2 cards. And then our opponent takes creativity, I guess, away from us. But we're getting pretty close to being able to just hard cast the Magma Opus as well. I guess a extinction event here would be pretty bad. Thassa's Oracle. This is leading to me believe that our opponent's on some sort of... Oh, okay, they're on the Tainted Pact combo. Sweet, yes, our opponent had it. So I guess the reason, if Arena doesn't give you enough time, then it makes sense that your opponent casts Thassa's Oracle, and then with the trigger on the stack, they cast Tainted Pact, because the Tainted Pact has to resolve. So against Tainted Pact, I guess we just want to be running our Negates, Mystical Disputes, and whatnot. Probably don't Magma Sprays. Swirling Suns as well. We're just trying to combo before our opponent can combo. Yeah, it doesn't really work. Like, we haven't really got anything to fight this, I don't believe. So yeah, kind of just running and hoping we can disrupt them and combo before they can combo. I think we have to mulligan this hand away. It's a really nice hand, but our opponent's on Tainted Pact. We have to have some interaction early or combo on turn 4, so we'll mulligan. This is probably a hand we can keep just about, and we'll bottom one of these Torrential Gearhulks. Yeah, Fable Passage is okay. Like, we need our land drops, but... It's not even... Yeah, we're going to bottom it. It's not even an untapped land. Third land untapped would be much better. Now we get to hold up Negate, and hopefully we get to discard Outburst. We'll have a look. Sure. So probably not going to discard Outburst just yet. We'll just cycle Shark Typhoon. This is why I think this list, we mentioned earlier on in the video, I think maybe game 1 or the intro, that this deck might be just better in best of 1 before your opponent knows what's up. Because our opponent's going to do a really good job here of being able to keep our graveyard under control. They just tap it each turn to be able to... We have to exile a card from the graveyard. We'll probably just Field of Ruin here, actually. It sets an extra card in our graveyard. And we need our red mana anyway to be able to cast Indomitable Creativity. Opponent can still exile a card at instant speed. Feels really tough to interact with what our opponent's doing. I don't know if I think that Tainted Pact is a pretty fun deck to play against. Like, it's interesting, but if a deck like Tainted Pact becomes really playable, then I don't... The problem is I don't know how you interact with this list. Can't really discard Creative Outburst here. Doesn't really do anything. Yeah, I don't know how you interact with Tainted Pact outside of Four.Vs, Inquisition, and counterspells. Because creature removal doesn't work. You just have to kill your opponent faster, but they're running like interaction to be able to slow us down. Gonna keep making us exile cards. Yeah, gonna be tough to beat this one. Just I guess see what we draw. I guess next turn we'll just discard an outburst. We won't be able to cast a Torrential Gear Hulk, but there's a chance that we'll be able to resolve creativity to be able to blow up the treasure. Because we're just missing land drops, so... Hindsight's 20/20, but it was probably just correct to... We're just not going to resolve the creativity. Guess we'll keep a creativity safe. Yeah, and we'll keep Magma Opus. Do we even keep Magma Opus on top? Like... I don't know. Yeah, we'll keep it on top. I actually don't know what the best way to play this is, because our opponent gets to keep exiling cards from our graveyard. We either have to fill our graveyard relatively quick, which we could do via counter spells if our opponent was actually doing something. But the fact they're not doing anything, because we're missing land drops, I guess, just means that we're in a bit of a pickle. So yeah, we'll memory lapse. Just, if anything, just to put more cards in our graveyard. It's more difficult for our opponent to be able to keep exiling our graveyard. Opponent could just cast Lurrus, I guess, maybe. Doesn't do much, but... Maybe opponent's got the combo in hand, they're just looking to try and make us tap down. Yep. Kinda need to leave our treasure in play. Only one card in graveyard, so if we let our opponent untap again, they can keep going with the claws. Yeah, I think we're just going to have to, I don't know, discard Opus. Force our opponent to... We need them to sacrifice this claws, really. Yeah, I guess we'll just exile Memory Lapse. Mystical Dispute is a good one. So yeah, I think we're just going to go for it here and hope. Just going to have to creativity for one. Holding up Mystical Dispute, I guess. I mean, they have sacrificed their claws now, so maybe we just let we just pass again. Because all creativity is doing now is just grabbing a Torrential Gearhulk. So yeah, probably just going to pass. Yeah, I think a combination of our opponent having a reliable way to answer our graveyard on top of us not finding a Prismari command and us not finding lands has been pretty painful. Because if we found lands, at least we could start casting our Magma Opuses and Creative Outbursts. So yeah, just going to untap here. Again, just finding all of our bits that we don't necessarily want to find, because now Indomitable Creativity can only find one Torrential Gearhulk. Yeah, opponent can Thoughtseize us. I hope they take a creativity because they're just dead now. Hovering over negate, I think negate is the right target. Okay, so opponent's going for the combo. So we need to Mystical Dispute, and then we cast Torrential Gearhulk, and our opponent can Mystical Dispute the Torrential Gearhulk. Yeah, we can then cast Torrential Gearhulk, but our opponent very easily Mystical Dispute it, and it's GG. Sweet, so not a great run with Magma Opus, Izzet combo, but we'll go to the wrap-up and have a little discussion. Howdy guys, cheers for making it to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching some Izzet Magma Opus combo / control. It's kind of like loose on control. It's probably more of a combo list, though we still can do that controlling game plan, especially after sideboarding. But how do we think Izzet Magma Opus control did? And overall, I think it's an okay list. It's pretty fun to play. I did mention a few times throughout the video that I think this list would probably be better in best of one. Just because once your opponent knows what's up, it's really difficult to play around some of the hate that can be brought in, like Grafdigger's Cage and Rest in Peace, or just reliable bits of graveyard hate like we saw in the last game. And yeah, so it's okay. It's a fun list. I feel like out of all the directions that Izzet can be taken in forms of control and just reliable decks at the moment in Historic, I feel like Magma Opus is probably the correct direction. You could go ahead and play just straight Izzet Control with like Chandra, 6-mana Chandra, 4-mana Chandra, and Narset, 3-mana Narset at the same time, and like Sweltering Suns for your board wipe. A few counter spells in there like we did earlier on the channel, earlier on in the week. But is it going to be better than Azorius? Is it going to be better than Grixis, Jeskai, all of the other stuff, Esper, Dimir? I feel like Izzet's probably the weakest of the control lists when it comes down to hardcore controls. So I feel like you need to do something outside the box. And I think this is a really good shot at doing something outside the box. I really like the combination of just getting multiple Torrential Gearhulks, casting their Magma Opuses from the graveyard, Creative Outburst, and just shooting your opponent for an insane amount. And yeah, early interaction and counter spells are still good. So not much to say on this list. It was really fun to play. It was enjoyable. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as well. It's pretty much just what you've seen for the past week or two in Historic. And that being said, it is really fun to play with Torrential Gearhulk again. Like, not something we often get to play with on the channel because he's kind of just a little bit outclassed by some of the other stuff that's happening in the format. Does play around things like negates from the sideboards and Dovin's vetoes, but at the same time, Mystical Dispute normally sees play in sideboards, and it doesn't combo with Search Hascanta, it doesn't combo with Narset, and if your opponent shuts down your graveyard, it's just a 6-mana 5/6 to flash, which isn't really playable when there's things like Shark Typhoons, Teferis, 6-mana Chandras that you can also be playing at the same time. So that being said, that's sort of everything I've got to say. Izzet Magma Opus combo? Pretty fun to play. It was exciting. If you're looking for a new deck to play in Historic, maybe you're looking for something a bit more combo-y, then yeah, Izzet Magma Opus? Go for it. That being said, when I created the list, I have to let you know there are quite a few mythics. You've got the 4 Magma Opuses, the 4 Indomitable Creativities, which I had to craft all of these because I haven't been drafting as much as I probably should. Uncommons like Creative Outburst is fine, but yeah, there's a ton of mythics and rares in this, so be warned if you are going to craft it. But if you've got the cards, go ahead, give it a shot. And as always, let me know down in the comments below as to how you got on with the list. Or maybe you're running a slightly different variation. So let me know how that gets on as well. As for upcoming stuff we have on the channel, Azorius is probably going to be next. That's going to be what we're going to revamp. I say revamp, it's probably going to be almost identical to the last 75, but it's really fun to play every now and again, test it in the current meta, since the meta is always changing and shaping. And Dimir as well is currently on my radar for the next few decks that we're going to play, because the last time we played Dimir, it was really, really poor, so hoping that this time it will be a lot better. And I've seen a lot of Dimir lists that we've played against, and they've looked really solid. So I feel like the version we built was probably just wrong, and there's better ways to build it. So we'll take a leaf out of someone else's book and see how we get on with Dimir. But that is everything. I'm going to try and make these endings a little bit more concise, because I know they drag on a little bit. But until next time, stay safe.